Hello, fellow Ag Nerd. Today's special episode is what I like to call a spotlight. So instead of our normal format of a 40-minute long-form interview, it's just a short peek into something that I find interesting. The topics for these spotlights are determined in collaboration with our quarterly presenting sponsor, which this quarter is Case IH. And as part of this quarter's sponsorship, Case IH has given me access to a few of their key people to learn a little bit more about what goes into developing the tractors and equipment that farmers use every day. This is now our third and final installment in that series. So if you haven't already listened to the first two with Dan Klein and Chris Dempsey, I highly encourage you to go do that after listening to today's spotlight. And today we're going to feature Scott Harris, who at the time of this interview was the brand president at Case IH. In the time since the interview took place, it was announced that Scott took on the role of president of CNH North America, so congratulations to Scott on that. But he told me when we had the interview that he feels like he was destined to work in the ag industry, although his story began as a secondary education teacher in applied technology. From there, he spent over 20 years in the automotive and finance industries and says he truly found his calling when he joined CNH Industrial in 2006. I want to kick off today's spotlight with Scott's response to exactly what a brand president is responsible for.
Our brand truly exists for one reason, and that's to support farmers on their mission to feed the world. So our job, our mission is to help make farming easier, help farmers rise above the challenges that exist for them today, make them more productive and more profitable to ensure that we can continue to feed the world's growing population in a place where we're not putting in more farmland, we're actually taking it out. We've got no other choice but to become more productive and find ways to get more out of what we've got today.
And does that ever feel daunting, for you? Because technology has taken us so far. Does it feel like the incremental, opportunity for technology to take us even further is still there? Or does it feel like, boy, we're now splitting hairs with how far we've already come?
No, I think we're just beginning. And what's been really interesting for me to watch and experience is the pace at which producers today are not only accepting new technology and new ways of doing it, they're demanding it. It's table stakes. I mean, consider this. It was 2016 at the Farm Progress Show, we revealed, it was concept vehicle, right? The first driverless tractor. This was just 2016. It was unheard of. It was a Magnum tractor that didn't have a cab. Workable, it's functional, but it was the world's first autonomous tractor at scale. And, like I said, it was a concept, and it got a lot of press, and it was the big thing at the event that year. But what was really interesting was the response that we got from producers there. And I would say it was split. 50% of farmers looked at that and said, wow, that is the future of farming. That's where we're going. That's what I need. Labor is hard to come by. This will help me solve those challenges. And I can tell that this is where the industry is going. There was a clear, loud, and vocal group as well, the other half, that said, you guys are trying to take the farmer out of farming. And it was kind of an aha moment for us. Fast forward to today, right, where the full expectation is that we will get to fully autonomous operation, right, for the entire crop cycle. And the fact is, we're really already there. We've got the capability to do it today. We've got machines that are in the field today, tilling fields fully autonomously. But there are a lot of hurdles to overcome for us to get there. So what's been really fun to watch from like 2016 on is the adoption of all of the other ancillary and adjacent technologies that farmers can take advantage of today to make their better decisions for their farm and for next year's crop based on the data that they're able to ingest and then make decisions on through the technology that's available today on our machines and the data that we can get off of those machines and the crops that are going through them and the ground that they're touching as they prepare the soil, right, and plant the seed. It's an incredible environment, and we're just I think honestly, we are just getting started.
And do you think part of the split on the initial reaction was because it's a tractor and not another piece of equipment, and a tractor is just maybe more personal to a farmer?
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, when you think about it, and I think you nailed it, right? It is kind of it's the farmer's office is the tractor. It's where he lives. What's interesting to me about that is nobody goes tractoring. A tractor doesn't do anything, right? Unless it's attached to something, but yet still it is the center of everything that happens on a farm.
Yeah. Well, as we're going to be releasing this episode, we're talking late 2024, be released early 2025. What's top of mind for you in your position, making sure that you all can continue to execute on this brand promise?
Yeah, well, certainly quality is always job one for us. So that's always top of mind. The second thing that's really important for us is just the general state of the ag economy is challenging right now. We know farm income is going to be off this year versus last, and the outlook for next year it's always a little bit fuzzy, but the outlook as we're seeing it today isn't much different from this year, which is challenging for farmer financials. It's challenging for our dealers and their success. So that's always top of mind as we go, particularly as we turn the corner into the new year. But it only adds importance and focus on some of the bigger picture things that we're working on, because it's in the challenging times that we need our machines to be part of the solution, right? If we can be more productive, if we can get more yield, if we can get more out of the crop, if we can make farming easier and make it more productive, we can help that financial equation, even in times when the economics aren't great.
And on the kind of grower profitability, farm economics side of things, you all internally have to have a lot of discussions about, say, okay, we can make this bigger and faster, but does it really provide more of an ROI, to the farmer? I imagine that there is this diminishing returns of, okay, we don't want to go, smaller or slower, but maybe there's a way we can help the ROI of the farmer. And I'm sure that technology plays a role in that. I'm just curious about what those internal discussions look like.
They are interesting. They are long, they're deep, and quite dynamic. But you hit it on the head. At the end of the day, it's about the value and ultimately the return and the ROI that we can get back to the producer. And, we were probably, and I wasn't here for these, but 20 years ago, we were having discussions about when do we achieve the law of diminishing returns in horsepower, right? And we're still chasing horsepower, and there's still a demand for more horsepower as we build, bigger implements. And the guys that we've got in our implement team and what we're hearing from farmers, if you build me a bigger one and a tractor that'll pull it, I'll go bigger. And it's, it's really all about the value proposition and if it makes sense. But to your point, there is a balance there. And at some point you get that horsepower is going to mean weight. And so what's the offset on compaction and on the, the footprint that machine is making as it goes through the field, right? And are we better served focusing the dollars in the research on technology and technology improvements that can give us similar productivity gains without some of the downside of weight or an increasing footprint or the roadability and our ability to take things and move them and move them down a road to the next farm, right? It's great question. And really at the heart of many of our discussions when we talk about the future of farming and what our next developments look like.
On the manufacturing side, I just curious if you can give us a sense of how that works at the scale you all need to operate, having enough pieces, parts, having everything on hand. I mean, I just can't even fathom how complicated that probably is.
I appreciate the fact that you have an appreciation for how big that job is. I mean, these machines have thousands and thousands of components. And we've got a huge supply chain team. It's a global team. We source our products, not just domestically, but from around the world. And to pull all of those together in the time that they need to get there at the plant, in time to be on the line and in the station where they need to be, it's a Herculean task. And it takes a really skilled army of people to get that done. You can imagine the challenge that was during the COVID era when the worldwide supply chain just completely broke down. And it was certainly the most challenging period in supply chain I've ever had in my career, and hope to never have to go through it again. Just absolutely incredible. But it is it's a wonder that the team can pull all this together. And you think about the footprint that we've got in manufacturing. We can only keep so much inventory, and certainly under roof, because we don't want it outside getting rusty and exposed to the weather, right? So the timing of bringing that material in, getting it staged in the plant, then getting it set for the line. And you think about this. I talk all the time about, and probably because it's near where I live and it's where my office is in Racine, and I talk about the Magnum tractor, but there are hundreds of thousands of configurations of a Magnum tractor because of all of the options that are available in size and in wheels and in seats and in you name it, right? Mirrors and lights. And there's literally hundreds of thousands of configurations. We rarely build the same tractor twice in a calendar year. There's something unique. It's really incredible. So the supply chain that's required to support that is a really integral part of the process, and it has to be perfect.
That is mind blowing. I mean, and that's one of, I'm sure you have a huge team on the supply chain side. It's one of those jobs that a lot of people, you just never think, you never even think about that all these careers related to agriculture exist.
No doubt. A lot of unsung heroes in the operation for sure. That have the same, and what's great about it is I've learned as I've worked with the team is, but they have the same passion and appreciation for what they do because of the overlying purpose of the industry that we're in.
I find this stuff fascinating. I mean, it's a part of the agriculture industry that I feel like I've thought deeply about the industry for decades, but it's a part of it that I have not given near enough thought to, all that goes into it. And I think it's really, really incredible. One thing we haven't touched on, I know we're running out of time, but we've talked a lot about, kind of where the interactions come with the farmers and the manufacturing process and some of these interesting technological advancements. But what about the dealer side of things? Can you talk about how does the dealer network work, at CNH and what does that look like today?
Thanks so much for asking that question. Our dealers we're inextricably linked. They are critical to our success with producers. The bond between our dealers and farmers is absolutely, it's incredible. They are partners, and we view our dealers that way as well. During the critical parts of the crop cycle, I mean, our dealers and their employees are on 24/7, ensuring that producers' machines are up and running when they need them. And we're engaged with them in, emergency circumstances, ensuring that we've got a machine goes down and we're not going to be able to get a new transmission in that machine for 3 days. We got a backfill machine to keep that farmer going while we get his machine up and going. They provide an incredible service to our producers. There is no way we could do what we do without a really high performing, dedicated dealer network, many of whom are generational. Many of our dealer operators today are the sons and or grandsons and daughters of the founders of their dealerships. And they too are very active in the communities that they support. And again, a critical link in our ability to provide the support that we need to our customers.
We have a lot of people listen to the show who are entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial and maybe tinkering with new ideas and new approaches. How might those type of people, interact with CNH, or what does that look like from your vantage point? Are you engaging with the startup scene or watching what's happening in those corners of innovation?
We are in constant research mode in that regard, and we do it in many different ways. But I tell you what, farm shows are a great place for us to see what's new, and a lot of these guys, these startups that we'll see there. And they're different. When I'm at the West Coast in Tulare, for example, we'll have different guys out there in specialty crops and different technologies than we will at Farm Progress in Decatur or in Iowa. And then another one in Latin America is a hotspot for an unbelievable amount of innovation and startups and entrepreneurial thinking. So we are constantly scouring and assessing all of those areas. And you'll see, if you follow us at all, you'll see we've made several investments in companies that we've learned of through this engagement. Intelsat, which is a satellite company that will help us with areas where we need connectivity in order to take advantage of all of our precision technology, but cell service isn't great in every place we farm. So Intelsat will provide us an opportunity to connect via satellite, and so that will be seamless, and we're partnering with them. Augmenta is a partnership that we've found, another one that we've invested in and we're partnering with, because they've got really great technology on SenseApply, where we can sense the difference between green and brown and only spray chemical where it's absolutely needed. One, to save a tremendous amount of cost, but there's also sustainability, environmental impacts that we can support in these advances as well. We've got a group, which is called CNH Ventures, which is where we make partnerships through investments with the startups that we think, we need to help, get over the hump and determine whether there's an opportunity here for us to really find some advancements and breakthrough technology for producers.
All right, and that is going to be where we wrap up today's Spotlight segment. If you're at all interested in that last point about CNH Ventures, you absolutely need to listen to our last episode with Michele Lombardi, who leads that team. Also, as I said in the beginning, be sure to check out our other two spotlights with Dan Klein and Chris Dempsey, as well as episode 448 with Joe Miller. I think this whole series this quarter in partnership with Case IH ties together really well, and thank you again to them for being our quarterly presenting sponsor this quarter. Also, special thank you, of course, to Scott Harris for this interview today. And last but never least, thank you for your time and your attention. I do not take it lightly. I'll be back with another full-length episode in just a couple days.